It's day 4 of 6 and the Tour de Romandie climbs steadily uphill to the Chi Centre of Charmey today. Can overall leader Bradley Wiggins go one step closer to becoming the first British rider to win the Swiss race? Find out next. There was no change overall after the Tour de Romandie reached its halfway point yesterday, but it was a great day for Frenchman Jonathan Yver, who won in Moutier.
Perfect timing there by Jonathan Yver. He's very pleased, timed it to perfection.
Today, race leader Britain's Bradley Wiggins will face his sternest test as the mountains reach the high spots. Can Tour de France champion Cadel Evans challenge? It's stage 3, next on the NBC Sports Network. Hello everybody, welcome back to the Epic Cycle Series presented by Michelob Ultra, the 66th edition of the Tour de Romandie in French-speaking part of Switzerland. And this is now stage number 3, 98 miles, taking the riders from La Neuville to Charmey. I'm Phil Liggett, alongside me as always is Bob Roll. Bob, 12 seconds covers the top 10 overall. This is big pressure for Sky.
12 seconds, all the men in the top 10 overall standings, including 4 riders from the Rabobank team and 2 riders from the Garmin squad are within striking distance of the yellow jersey of that man, Bradley Wiggins. Only 12 seconds spread across all the top 10 riders.
But he goes out today 7 seconds over his teammate Michael Rogers and 9 over Bauke Mollema, who is one of those Rabobank riders, and there he is in 3rd place. Steph Clement, he's in 4th place, only 9 back, and Andrew Talansky having a great ride. The American winner of the Young Rider competition last year is in the lead in that again this time around. Then comes Luis Leon Sanchez, Wilco Kelderman, who's challenging Talansky in that Young Riders competition. Dave Zabriskie and Ruben Platz are completing the top 10. Bob, the route.
157.9 total kilometers, or about 98 miles in old money. Flat roads to begin the stage along the lake of Neuchâtel, but once the racers head inland towards the finishing town of Charmey, that's when the climbs kick in. You can notice the numbers there. Those correspond to the degree of difficulty of a climb. HC is the hardest, then 1, 2. Category 3 kind of depends on the steepness and the length. Those are generally considered the easier of the climbs.
Well, let's pick up the action earlier today. A breakaway, getting away after only 6 miles today. Matt Bramier, the Irishman on Omega, Gatis Mikulis, Lee Howard, Tosh van der Sande, and Anders Lund were the men that got away. This is over the top of the second climb at Châteaulas. Mikulis there going over first ahead of Lee Howard, the Australian. And the peloton going through just on 5 minutes back at 4:55. 46.5 kilometres to go. And I look at this, this was earlier. This is the world champion Mark Cavendish on Team Sky, the sprinter, who is now becoming the big helper on this race. He is now doing a lot of work for Bradley Wiggins, his team leader. Back to the leaders here, Bob.
Speaking of Mark Cavendish, you rarely see any sprinter doing any tempo at any time, but team spirit on Sky must be very high, and Mark Cavendish contributing to the pacemaking, chasing down this breakaway. Lee Howard in there in the middle of that group, 3 times world champion on the track, trying to do something on today's stage in the Tour of Romandie.
Well, these are the 5 front runners here. They've been out here all day now. As you can see, they're 20 miles from the finish. This is the 3rd category climb as we're starting up towards Charmey. This is a Trevert. And this is just coming up to the top. It's been a good day in the mountains, but none of these riders had scored points in the King of the Mountains so far. So Lars Bak, who hasn't scored any points today, will still keep his overall lead tonight. He built a lead yesterday in that long breakaway. 57, there's the Green Edge rider from Australia, Geelong, actually, about 50 miles outside of Melbourne, as he is about to see his team announce their big sponsor over the coming weekend in Melbourne. This is the champion of Ireland, both in the time trial road race with the green band. That is Matt Bramier, and there is Lee Howard.
Gatis Mikulis, also from Latvia, the Katusha rider tacked onto the back. National time trial champion. Is contributing to the pacemaking, asking the Saxo Bank rider there. That rider is a man called Anders Lund, not willing to contribute to the pacemaking, and some Mikulas asking him, where do you think you're going? You have to keep working at the front. You might get dropped if you don't contribute to the pacemaking.
Well, the man who is working at the front there was Lee Howard, and the clock's saying 3:40. He's 3:43 behind overall Lee Howard. So for much of the day, he has been the virtual leader of the race, but they're beginning now, Bob, as we would expect, to peg it back. And remember, the last 5 miles of the day is steady, but always uphill.
30 kilometers just over to the finish line, under 20 miles, and that gap is still pretty high, 3 minutes, 35 seconds. I'd have to give the breakaway an outside chance today of staying away.
Well, the camera's closing in here on Lars Bak. Now, he has retained that pink jersey, which is his insignia as leader of the King of the Mountains for tomorrow's stage. But a few more riders have now gathered time in that competition with the hills today, and there are 3 first category climbs tomorrow, so he'll be under pressure tomorrow. The peloton are becoming a little agitated now, Bob. 3:35 the gap, 19 miles to go. This is the time to start the chase back. And by the way, we earlier saw Mark Cavendish on the front, but he's been dropped now.
Mark Cavendish dropped off the back. There's Bradley Wiggins on the very right-hand side of your screen in the yellow jersey. His teammates collecting him out, moving towards the front of the bike race. Lamprey also there in the pink on the left-hand side of the peloton, doing a little bit of work as well.
Danny Pate bringing Team Sky up towards the front here now. It seems to me that Team Sky are using the likes of Geraint Thomas and Mark Cavendish every day for the early pacemaking, because they're dropping off every day. And Cavendish, for example, has already lost 19 minutes during the road race stages. He's just been selected along with Geraint Thomas as part of the upcoming Giro d'Italia squad, and I think that's why he's giving himself a hard ride to get fit for the Giro, which starts the week after this race ends.
There's no way to get fit like racing, and a lot of riders using the Tour of Romandie to get ready for the Grand Tours still to come this summer. The first of the Grand Tours is the Giro d'Italia, starting just under a week after the finish of this, the Tour of Romandie, so they'll have a week to recuperate, rest the legs, and hopefully they will get the fitness needed for the Giro in this race right here, the Tour of Romandie.
And let me also remind you of the Amgen Tour of California, which we'll cover every day here on the network, and I hope you enjoy that because it has got a tremendous field this year. It's a tough job to get into the same time slot as the Giro d'Italia, but it seems that the riders enjoy the Tour of California as they prepare for the Tour de France. So watch out for that one coming up here on the NBC Sports Network. 29 kilometres to go now. It looks at the Rabobank, who have been riding very well in this race. I'm thinking of Bauke Mollema. He's right up. He was 4th overall in the Vuelta a España last year. The peloton, a few more of them left at the moment than we've seen over the past 2 days of racing. Very similar roads as the last 2 days. No major high mountains. We top out at 3,000 foot again today. But boy, these fellas race at such a high speed. They're constantly above 30 miles an hour. And there's your King of the Mountains leader at the back here, Lars Bak, not really enjoying his day after his long escape yesterday. And just coming up behind him there, number 181, is Kevin Retzer on Team Europe car. He's just gone past Lars Bak, who seems to be looking for his team car there. This is the front of the peloton now. Good tempo riding here at the front. Team Sky, the riders in black. The one odd man out is their leader in the yellow leader's jersey, and that is Bradley Wiggins. The gap is 3 minutes 25 up front. For the moment, though, Bradley is hanging on. And Cadel Evans, will he challenge today? We'll see in a moment. Welcome back. The beautiful green pastures here now in the French-speaking part of Switzerland. The gap is slowly coming down, and surprisingly now, it's under the impetus, Bob, of the Dutch team Rabobank, who have a lot of players in the top 10 overall in this race.
Rabobank feeling frisky at the front of the peloton. Bauke Mollema starts the stage 9 seconds behind Bradley Wiggins, the man in the yellow jersey. His teammate, Steph Clement, he's in 4th place overall. Luis Leon Sanchez got to be considered a danger man. He's only 11 seconds off the lead. Luis Leon Sanchez did get a time bonus on yesterday's stage for being 3rd in that sprint won by Jonathan Iver.
Now these are the 5 leaders, just confirming where we are in Switzerland according to the flags, as these 5 riders really have combined well today. They broke away, you know, 6 miles into the stage. They got a maximum just on 6 minutes, and it's come back to only 3:14 with 15 miles left to race. Tosh van der Sande, the rider we're looking at here at the moment, he's a first-year professional, but his big claim to fame, he won the under-23 Liège-Bastogne-Liège. Now, what's going on here?
Michael Matthews rolling through, world champion on the track. Pretty handy sprinter. He has 2 big wins in his career. He won a stage of the Vuelta Murcia in a sprint. He's the man in orange at the front. Also, this year already victorious in the Vuelta Almería, another stage race down in Spain. So a fast sprinter from the Rabobank squad on second wheel. Looks to be Kwiatkowski, former Polish junior world champion, just in front of Lee Howard.
Now, there's a lot of work being done here. Garmin also now with Rasmussen on the front here. Champion of Denmark pushing on a little bit.
Navardauskis, the man in the white jersey with the green bands on his sleeve, just on the wheel of his teammate there doing the work. That looked like it was... Oh, that was Alex Rasmussen, Phil, on the front of the peloton. But on his wheel, his teammate, Navardauskis, the Garmin squad, very aggressive in yesterday's stage. Almost came up with the stage win. I think that Ryder Hagedal maybe jumped a little bit too early, got overly excited there. Had a great lead out from his teammate, Christian Vanevelde. They'll want to get that timing down. Today is another chance for them to win a stage.
Well, you know, the peloton are playing it cunning here. You can see the sun is starting to go down now because it's coming up to around 5 o'clock in the evening in Switzerland. And the peloton are organising this perfectly. They know that this stage is really a sting in the tail. The last 8 kilometres or 5 miles is steadily uphill to the finish. This is the 3rd time we've been to Charmey in the last few years. We were there in 05 and again in 07. It's where they make the Gruyere cheese, by the way. So if you probably smell the finish, Bob, before we get there today.
The riders with a decent kick at the end of a hard stage will be smelling the finish line as well. 650 feet of elevation in those last 8 kilometers. It's a gradual grind up to the finish line, but it's most certainly not a flat stage for the sprinters.
Well, I'll tell you what, Rabobank today have said this is the day we're going to test Team Sky. These are the 2 riders in orange at the front. Now, as we've said, they've got 3 potential winners of this race, riding high in the classification. The only way to break the grip of the British Sky team is to do what they're doing today, and that's gather the tempo, hit the high speed now, and see if anybody cracks on the way up to the finishing line. And Bradley Wiggins, I have to say, in the yellow jersey, is looking pretty cool right now.
Well, what a squad they've brought to this Tour of Romandie. Richie Porte, Mark Cavendish, Mick Rogers, Geraint Thomas, Chris Froome, Konstantin Zivsov, and Danny Pate. What a squad Sky has brought. If they want to pulverize the field, they most certainly are capable of doing that.
And let's not forget this 5-man breakaway, because it's still got 3 minutes over the peloton, and it is only 13 miles from the finish. It could well be lucky 13 for those boys up front. We'll see how they handle the slopes as we get closer in, but for the moment, Sky appear to have control of the peloton. But it's a nervous control at the moment. There's plenty trying to break the spirit. We'll take a break.
The American Garage, the Taj Mahal of overhaul. Whether it's your place or the pro's place, more of them count on the trusted advice at AutoZone than ever before. Parts are just part of what we do.
Get in the zone.
AutoZone.
The Epic Cycle Series, presented by Michelob Ultra, continues with Stage 4 of the Tour of Romandie. It's the Queen Stage, when we go mountaineering over 5,000 feet. But note the new time, 10:30 Eastern, on the NBC Sports Network. What a beautiful picture, Bob. And there's the snow up in the hills. We might be there tomorrow as we're racing now to Charmey. Still coming down, 2:48 on those 5 men who've been out front for virtually all of the stage today. And by the way, as we look at the peloton, Bob, Jakob Fuglsang, one of the riders who didn't start this morning, and he's also declared he's out of the Giro d'Italia.
Radio Shack leader for the Giro d'Italia, Jakob Fuglsang. He has an injured knee. Inflammation and tendinitis on that knee, will not start the Giro d'Italia and has not started today's Tour of Romandie stage.
It's really bad luck, and Radio Shack's luck is really out at the moment, isn't it? They're waiting for the comeback of the man they lost in the Tour of Flanders, Fabian Cancellara. Things just not going right yet for Radio Shack Nissan, but the wheel usually turns a full circle. 20 kilometres to go, that sign said, 12 miles from the finish. They are desisting well, these boys up front, so they are not coming back voluntarily, that's for sure. And just looking to the rider third up the line here, that is our Road ID athlete profile, and it is Lee Howard, the youngster from Australia, who rides on the Australian Green Edge cycling team. He's a world champion on the track in 2010 and 2011. And this is very, very good racing by Lee Howard. He comes from Geelong, by the way, which is about 40, 50 miles outside of the city of Melbourne. This five-man breakaway, Bob, they really are sticking to the guns. Lee Howard there has gone right to the front. Announcement from Green Edge today, in fact, that next week in Melbourne, they're announcing their big new sponsor. And that's a real coup for the Australian squad.
They did start without a sponsor. They did have a patron to pay the bills to get into the top tier of cycling, but now they do have a big sponsor that will be announced this week. That's great news for the Australian squad.
It is indeed. Jerry Ryan is the man behind that team. He is a billionaire in Australia. And this is Gatis Smukulis here, the Latvian time trial champion in the red, who's just gone under that points banner. Now, they've not challenged him, there's no interest, but in fact, he will be the man wearing the leader's green jersey in the sprint competition tomorrow, because he's got enough points now. Just checks them all out, a little puff and a blow, and goes to the back of the line. Gap still 2 minutes, Bob, and these boys are going to have to get a move on, because we're just over 10 miles from the finish. But look at the action down there now, and somebody here has gone off the front, and that must be Smukulis again.
Smukulis off the front now. Professional courtesy extended to Smukulis in that last sprint. I don't think any of those guys in that breaker will ever do that again. He's just attacked them.
But you can see down there, 96, 5 minutes 46 he's lost since this race began at Lausanne, and his gap is 2:06. So he's not racing for the race lead, and that might help him here, because the Sky team are not going to come readily running for him. More important that they keep an eye on the riders closest to them back in that main pack. This could be a very clever move here.
A little bit of panic in the peloton. Rabobank at the front doing a big turn of work along with the team Garmin Barracuda from the United States. They know that this breakaway might not come back. They have a Smukulis anyways, 2 minutes, 2 seconds lead with only 16.5 kilometers to go. This is a dangerous move here by the man from Latvia, striking out for a stage win.
Well, we head through 16 kilometers to go now. Through the town, we'll start to climb steadily up to Charmey, which is a spa town up on the hills. 2 minutes to gap. They're just speeding through that same sprint point here as they continue on the way through the town of Bula. And 1:59. They've got it just inside 2 minutes. As Movistar, the Spanish team, sit at the back in these blue jerseys, and one rider there is Samolau, the last man around the bend here, on the back of his teammate, Kirienka. Very tight fit. These are very narrow roads, considering we're into a big town here in Switzerland. Got to watch these roundabouts. They are so dangerous, because in the peloton, Bob, they come at you and you are totally unsighted. Oh my goodness me, there was somebody down on the road there.
One of the traffic furniture, the pylon there, caught somebody out. Didn't get a chance to see the number of that rider, but just exactly like you said, Phil, when you don't pay attention, you go down.
Well, I can't believe it. Whoever that ride was, he made me look pretty good, Bob, because that's a shame, though. But somebody's gone out again, and let's have a look. It's a Lotto rider down there at the moment, and he really has hit the centre of the road, unsighted. Let's have a look. See, look to the centre of your picture. He's already on the ground there. Well, in fact, that looks like it's Kenny De Haas who's gone down there. Well, at least he's moving okay, and the medical crew are down there pretty quickly, and so they will attend to him, and while he gets attended to, we'll take a break. Next under, the Eyes Out IndyCar Series continues on the NBC Sports Network with the Sao Paulo Indy 300 from Brazil. Coverage begins at 10:30 a.m. with IndyCar 36 featuring Ryan Hunter-Reay on the NBC Sports Network. We're now rejoining the action here in Romandie, just 14 kilometers, 8 miles out from the finish. And this is Smukulis, the Latvian time trial champion, who is trying to spoil the party for the big bunch behind today. He's hanging on, Bob, 1:50.
We haven't seen the other four riders he was with in the breakaway. He's just left them behind. They're going to have to organize and chase down that man to have a chance at the stage win. However, the peloton now starting to increase their tempo. The gap has come down within 2 minutes with 13.4, or about 7 miles to go in the bike race.
As we look down on the peloton here, it's gone out to 1:51. There are the full names of the... no, that's the situation now after the sprint. So it is indeed Smukulis who tomorrow will pull on the green jersey as sprint leader of the competition. He's got 12 points there. What I was about to tell you was that we saw Kenny De Haas on the ground when we went to commercial. In fact, the reports are now he is up and riding. It'll be a lonely ride, I suspect, but at least he should finish the stage and be able to start again tomorrow. So the peloton here, and it is still Rabobank. They've got a plan, Bob. What are they doing here?
Well, to win big bike races, sacrifices have to be made. Rabobank must have a plan. They have got 4 guys in the top 10 in the overall standings. Bradley Wiggins riding so strong. You got to do something. You got to ride aggressively. So they've put Mike Matthews, Martin Waynants on the front, along with this rider, Navardauskis, from the Garmin squad. Put pressure on Team Sky and maybe launch their men when we get closer to the finish line.
The workhorses on the teams here trying to get a different result, and maybe, let's not forget, there are small time bonuses at the finish again today, 10, 6 and 4 seconds, and there's only that hatful of seconds covering the leading riders in this race. There is the climb in the distance. There's no road up there, by the way, Le Molesson. So the riders haven't got to worry about that tomorrow as we go into 3 first category hills, the highest hills of the race. A real tough weekend with the time trial as well at Crans-Montana. Look at the speed now as the peloton. We're still racing down the valleys here, but there's only one way out to the finishing line today, and the last 8 kilometers will grind the way up these hills on the shoulders at the moment.
Navardauskis, a part of the Tour de France squad, so successful last summer for Garmin. He is on the front, driving the peloton. Panic now. A minute 52 to our leader, Simulkas, with only 11.3 kilometers to go. 2 teams with a concerted effort at the front of the peloton. Martin Waynants there. He's the rider from Rabobank on the front of the field.
But although we're seeing here Waynants, who's in his 2nd year with the Rabobank, he's been a pro since 2005. He's riding his legs off at the moment. It is not really affecting that lead. A minute 51 is holding, lost a second. Inside 7 miles to go, and we've still got this long way out of this valley, which isn't easy.
False flat, 5-mile grind to the finish line might be the undoing of the breakaway, but right now, if it was a flat finish with flat roads to the finish line, the last 6 miles, that gap would hold, and the breakaway would succeed in competing for the stage win.
Well, there's going to be some nervous riders at the front right now because we're within 3 kilometers. That's just under 2 miles before the slopes will kick in as they race up. This is a much bigger bunch than we've seen in the past 2 days come in. But look at the length of it here, Bob. A lot of these riders now are hanging on. It's purely down to the speed of Rabobank, and it is being marshalled by Navardauskis, the champion of Lithuania for Garmin Barracuda, and also the black jersey of Sky. They must be thinking, just got to keep hold of these guys, got to control them now.
This is the inertia of the peloton in one long, thin line after so many miles of racing. These are the toughest moments in bike racing. Almost impossible to hold the wheel in front of you if you're halfway through the peloton. That's why it's so critical to stay in the front. When those gaps start opening up and they're going 55, 60 kilometers an hour, it's almost impossible to close.
Well, I just called sight there of the young American Andrew Talansky in that white jersey. He leads in the rookies competition. He isn't far behind the wheel either of Bradley Wiggins. Now, let me remind you, there is a 10-second win bonus today, 6 for second, 4 seconds for third. Those come off your overall time. We've got 12 seconds covering the top 10 riders. It could reverse the situation. So, really, Wiggins cannot relax here.
Wiggins can most certainly not relax, even if a little bit of a gap opens up and one of the other riders in the top 10 gets the stage win, he would lose his leader's jersey, and they have desperately clung on to that. They were so dominant on yesterday's stage. One doesn't perceive or imagine that they could let some gaps open up, but you never know. For Bradley Wiggins, the pressure is on, and it's being applied by the Garmin Barracuda team.
And I think they've got to be thinking of Talansky, Bob, because this could be a good stage for the youngster. If he gets into those first 3, he'll be into a podium position with the weekend to come. Now, 1 minute and 46 and 6 to go here. 6 miles, that is. Now, this is the remnants of that escape group here. This is Tosh van der Sander at the back, the young Belgian rider in his first year as a pro. And Matthew Bramier, the Irishman, whose only 3 races he's ever won were all in Ireland, and they were national championships.
3 times
Where's
national champion. Left turn for the peloton. Cameraman missed that one. Jumping over those traffic islands, this is going to be dangerous once the peloton gets to that same corner.
Well, just jumping over the middle there was Lee Howard, so he's used to his little bit of track cycling on the velodromes, and it looks as though Anders Lund is reaching across with him, the Saxo Bank rider. So the only man here not here is Smukelis, but of course he's just down the road. So the 4 of them trying to get together again. So 9.5 kilometers to go. We are about just over 3/4 of a mile now before the road starts to go up. We'll go to the finish when we come back. See you in a moment.
Christian Vandevelde from Chicago, Illinois, doing the teamwork, setting it up for Ryder Hagedal, perhaps. Hagedal close in the overall standings. They have 2 men in the top 10, including Dave Zabriskie, also very aggressive on yesterday's stage. Great to see the Garmin riders out in the front and riding aggressively here in the Tour of Romandie.
8.5 kilometers to go, 5 and a bit miles to the finish now. Team Sky have relinquished the front. They're just looking at the wheels now, seeing who is coming up and driving this race on. And it looks as though Team Radio Shack in those black jerseys as well are trying to get themselves into the picture. There is the lone leader. Yes, we haven't forgotten about him and the remnants of the breakaway. And it looks as though Matt Premier is trying to reach now Gatis Smoukalis himself. No, the group is with him. So the whole breakaway still clear and only 5 miles from the finish.
8 kilometers. This is where the climb starts. Premier in a little bit of trouble there. That's Lee Howard at the front of this chase group. Smoukalis off the front still, the Katusha man. He has dreams of Paris-Roubaix, successful in Catalunya. A stage win there. Smoukalis, he's got a great chance to win this stage and stay away to the finish line.
Well, this is a spa town at the top, and the baths are on the surface, the Gruyère des Bains, and so those riders are going to welcome that when they get up the hill today. They have closed slowly but surely, cracking this breakaway. As we're looking here at Anders Lund, these are the breakaways. There is the lone leader. He knows they're coming up to him, but just how close is that peloton? Bad Simon, the camera pulls back on the helicopter like this. We've got the leader on the road. We are inside 5 to go to the summit. There's still a good slice of daylight. There's the remnants of the day-long breakaway, which has proved to be a very spirited breakaway today. Some good riders down there trying to stay away. Now, where's the peloton? There they are. And the white jersey of Sarah Sejourn on the front, on the far left of our picture. We misled you a little bit yesterday. We said that they weren't selected for the Tour de France, and in fact, they have been named as a wild card. So the expert black mark for them yesterday, and I'm sorry about that. But now they are really animating the front again. They got the win yesterday with Jonathan Yver.
One of the most powerful bike racers in the history of American cycling for Team Sky. In the middle of your picture, that is Danny Pate. He's doing the teamwork for Bradley Wiggins. Bradley Wiggins under a lot of pressure, 6.7 kilometers inside of 5 miles before the finish, and the breakaway still dangerously up the road.
Well, their tails are up in this white jersey, this French squad here. Look at the face of these riders now, because they've got a great deal of faith in Jonathan Yver. Now, although it is a long climb up to the finish, and I haven't seen the finishing line, I don't think it's any harder than yesterday when Yver actually won the stage. So they're going to feel he might be able to do it again. But first of all, they've got to catch these boys and the rider in front.
One man leading the 4. They were all together until the last sprint of the day. Smoukalis put in an attack. He's got a pretty handy advantage over the men he was with in the breakaway. Smoukalis 1 minute and 4 seconds at the last time check ahead of the peloton.
As our cameras wander across the forested roads here, we twist and turn our way up towards the finish. We are now just over 3.5 miles from the line. This breakaway still very much has a chance here. You're picking out the lone leader, the champion of Latvia in the time trial, and he's showing us now why. He's riding his own private bike race here, and he's got his own tempo.
I'm wondering now if he had maybe gone a little bit too early, perhaps cooperate with the other riders in the breakaway. They are chasing him, working together, 4 men, but being chased by the peloton. There's the pursuers, the 4 men chasing our lone leader. Now this climb is starting to kick in, and these are the 4 men chasing the lone leader, Smoukalis.
Blue jersey here is Anders Lund, the Dane. And we go back up to the youngster here in Van der Sande, Tosh Van der Sande, first-year pro with the Lotto Belisol team. And look at the speed of these boys. We've got no time checks anymore, but they can't be that far behind. And it is Sarah Sejourn who is actually driving this peloton, and Garmin Barracuda, the 2 of them. And they've got to be trying to lay this on for Talansky. A time bonus for Talansky today could put him up in the 2nd place in the race.
One of the most aggressive riders from yesterday's stage. That looks like Peter Stetina from the Garmin Barracuda squad at the front of the peloton, doing the tempo and opening up gaps now. The breakaway just went through that last corner, so they should be able to see them just up in front of them.
Well, look at the bottom of the picture. Those are the 4 riders, and the leader is down the corners right ahead now. They can't see him, but we can. At 5 kilometers, 3 miles from the finishing line for the leader. steadily grinding their way to the top. And this, the time trial champion of Latvia, and another attack from Garmin Barracuda. And this is the 6-time national time trial champion of the USA, David Zabriskie.
Dave Zabriskie in the top 10 in the overall standings, only 12 seconds behind at the start of the stage, going for a stage win. 5 kilometers to go, 3 miles for Dave Zabriskie, the only American to ever win a stage in all the Grand Tours. He's got a Giro stage, Tour de France stage, and a Vuelta stage.
This has got to be a cool move for Zabriskie, Bob. He sits 12 seconds off the yellow jersey. If he can get through to the leader, he gets a 10-second win bonus, plus his time gap on the field. He could be in yellow.
He could very well be in yellow. It's a little bit of a long ways to go, a tall order for Dave Zabriskie. This aggressive riding, however, if he is caught, will give his teammates a chance to also launch some attacks. They're putting a lot of pressure on Team Sky no matter what happens in the rest of the stage.
Well, his only win this year was the prologue time trial in the Tour of Langkawi in Malaysia. It looks as though it's hurt just a little bit too much to me. Zabriskie is going into a bit of oxygen debt here, and I'm not surprised. Look over his shoulder. Gives you a little bit of the gradient as the hill goes up towards the summit. This is a horrible climb, but it's not if you're winning, of course. It's a great climb.
If you feel great and you're out in the front like Smakulis is and you're winning, but it is a tough climb for everybody involved. Dave Zabriskie just back into the fold. Let's see how Garmin handles that acceleration. If they could put some other riders off the front, put more pressure on Bradley Wiggins, who's now moved up to second wheel.
And that slow rider there, that's Smakulis, who's come back into the field. He has completely cracked. He's just gone into oxygen debt and sat up. He's done the same as Zabriskie. Now it is eyes down here now, 4.3. Richie Port here, tapping out the message on the front for Sky, the man from Tasmania, who was the first Australian to win the white jersey in the Giro d'Italia a couple of races ago. He's looking very, very good here now. And Seo Sachijon has gone clear again.
Looks like the former King of the Mountains competition leader, Jean de Beau's on the attack. Saour, all of their attacks yesterday paid off big dividends with the stage win by Jonathan Yver, continuing to be aggressive on today's stage. A lot of riders very close to the race lead of Bradley Wiggins and putting pressure on the man from Sky and England. He's opening a little bit of a gap there to his teammate Richie Port right at the front of the peloton. But now he recuperates, recovers himself, gets back onto the wheel of his teammate.
And Brad Wiggins now sitting behind his Australian teammate there, Richie Port, because Jean de Beau's is only 22 seconds off that yellow jersey. Wiggins will not want to relinquish that race lead. The last day will suit him. It's a time trial at Crans Montana. And so he's going to try. And interestingly enough, they seem to lose control of this race at the start of the climb, but the Sky riders have gone right back to the front as they come into the last 2 miles or so.
4 kilometers to the finish line, still kicking up. Gap starting to open up now. Aggressive riding throughout the peloton, and this is going to hurt Team Sky. They need a little bit more riders on the front. Looks like Kreuziger from Astana, he is up there in the breakaway.
Determined effort, because those two riders, Spilak and Kreuziger in the turquoise here, have both won this race in the past. They've exchanged words. They said, I think Spilak is saying, can we pick it up a bit? And Kreuziger said, I'm about as done as I can do now. 3.2 kilometers to go. Saxo Bank coming back in the picture. It looks to me as though this peloton is cracking.
And Simon Spilak putting in a big move here now. Kreuziger trying to close that gap down. Simon Spilak, the Katusha rider, former winner of the Tour of Romandie, off the front. Kreuziger clawing his way back onto the wheel of Simon Spilak.
Spilak, the winner back in 2010. He also won the 4th day of the race, and that might be significant today as Spilak. And here he is here now, about to zip up that jersey, if he can get it both together, as he sits on the back wheel of Roman Kreuziger, who is a very, very good rider indeed from Astana. Little flick of the left elbow saying, your turn to come and set the pace. We've got to work together to get rid of them. 2.8 kilometers to go. Are they getting rid of them? Well, maybe they're not.
Simon Spilak zipping up the jersey there. Very stylish to have the jersey unzip, but not very aerodynamic, and they're going so quickly up this last climb. Spilak choosing to do up his zipper, and on the wheel of Kreuziger now. 2.6 kilometers, just 1.5 miles to the finish line.
Kreuziger finished 6th overall in last year's Giro d'Italia, and so he is a stage race rider, and you've got to take your opportunities when they present themselves, when stage races like this come along, because it's all about best time at the end of the race on Sunday. A few seconds now can make all of the difference, and that is why Team Sky have really revved this up at the front. And again, the Rabobank orange jerseys are all getting into the mix, along with Wiggins, who has been, the yellow here has been pushed down to about 6th or 7th.
Richie Port still doing the work on the front of the peloton. Another Astana rider launching an attack. Bradley Wiggins rotating to the front, riding very well. And if you just get into the picture there, Spilak and Kreuziger caught now. Another Astana rider on the attack.
Well, this looks like Yanni Brakovic, who has made a move here. Went out of the Tour de France with a broken collarbone last year, but now he's well recovered, and Astana are riding on a high. They've had so many of their opportunist attacks succeed this year that why not have another go? And we're running out of road. 1.7 kilometers, a mile and a quarter to the finish.
Protege of Johan Brunel. He was very disappointed to lose Yanni Brakovic to the Astana team, but Brakovic looking for success on the team from Kazakhstan. But Richie Port from Team Sky has this whole peloton well under his control. 1.5 kilometers to the finish line.
And like so many attackers, Brakovic is his country's national time trial champion, which is Slovakia rather, as he goes back into the fold underneath the red kite. That's 1,000 meters to the line. Now, we haven't seen much of him, but I have spotted the defending champion on Team BMC, Cadel Evans. He is in there. Cadel playing the waiting game, I think. If he can finish in this pack, he won't lose any time, apart from the first 3 over the line. We'll get the bonuses, and he'll be looking for the time trial. Steph Clement, he says goodbye to that green Sprinters jersey today because he's been usurped by Smukalis out on the course. But the Rabobank team have put all the men on the front now. 4
men from Rabobank at the front of the field, including Luis Leon Sanchez, hovering dangerously. Sanchez 3rd on yesterday's stage. Another attack. In there, it looks like the Vacansoleil team on the attack boat. Rabobank falling down the line. Now, Team Sky, Bradley Wiggins, second wheel moving into the front. That must be Michael Rogers, the last man standing for Team Sky.
Well, you know, this is how Wiggins got his sprint finish 2 days ago. It's not a pure sprinter's finish. We're going uphill at 400 meters to go. Wiggins has put himself into a perfect position here. He's locked in by Rabobank, and I think it's Sanchez who's gone into 3rd place. Sanchez is easing very quickly on the left of our picture. Now, he snuck a little bonus yesterday. Is he going to get more today? Gianni Meersman has gone after him, gritting his teeth. But Luis Leon Sanchez, a 2-time winner of the stage of the Tour de France, he's got Meersman on the inside on the line. I'll just give it to Sanchez. But Wiggins has not scored a bonus. And Sanchez has got himself 10. He could be right up there tonight.
Great stage win by Luis Leon Sanchez, but Johnny Meersman has a legitimate beef there coming in against the fences. Meersman feeling that Sanchez squeezed him off. I think that he might have a legitimate beef there. Luis Leon Sanchez will have to wait for the officials. If they think that Luis Leon Sanchez moved too close to the fences, he will be disqualified from that sprint win.
Well, I'll have a look at it, but I think that he did nothing wrong myself. He wasn't going to open the door to let him through. If he held his line and didn't try to squash him, they won't do anything about it. He thinks he's got it anyway. Luis Leon Sanchez, the man who grabs these wins, he was nearly there yesterday, and these boys are congratulating each other because of what we said, Bob. They have ridden a perfect team race to get Sanchez the win.
Rabobank, an exceptional stage. They chased down the breakaway, and they let it out for Luis Leon Sanchez. Meersman on the wheel. Sanchez starts right there on the white line. Now he's moving towards the barrier. He gave him enough room to come through. I don't think Meersman had the legs. That's a very tricky call. That could go either way.
Well, I think he held his... he left enough room for the rider to go through, and he didn't take it. I mean, it was not the place to go in the first place. He was going to a door that wasn't fully open. There is a slight movement at that point, and the barriers do come out. But basically, I think he was riding a straight line to the finish, and the barriers themselves came out. A little bit like a situation we had with Mark Cavendish in the Tour de France a couple of years ago, 2009. But we'll wait for confirmation of that. There's no doubt that Luis Leon Sanchez feels good. And a quick calculation here, but if he's got the 10-second win bonus, he is only 1 second behind. But first, let's have a look at the stage results. Sanchez wins, same time as Meersman, who was 4th yesterday, 2nd today. But look at 4th today. Andrew Talansky just missed out there on a podium bonus. In 6th place, Nocentini, and the top 10 completed by the former King of the Mountains, Fabrice Gendebos of France. Well, there is the controversial sprint. For me, he's a clean winner. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll have a word with Luis Leon Sanchez. See you in a minute. The Epic Cycle, presented by Michelob Ultra on NBC Sports Network, is brought to you by Michelob Ultra, the superior light beer perfectly balanced for the ultra life. And by Strava, track your rides and compete against friends, locals and pros. Go to strava.com to get started. And by Competitive Cyclist, for 20% off cycling apparel and accessories, visit competitivegyclist.com/classics and use the promo code PRTF20. Welcome back to Romandie then, as we've seen a great sprint finish here, and confirmed as the winner is Luis Leon Sanchez, the 28-year-old, getting his 3rd win of the year, following on from his wins in the Castile-Leon and Paris-Nice as well. And he's brought this race into within 1 second now of the yellow jersey of Bradley Wiggins. Well, as he throws the crowd the flowers, let's have a look at our Michelob Ultra ride of the day. It was a controversial finish, Bob. How did you see it?
Sanchez riding the razor's edge between impeding Johnny Mearsman and allowing enough room for Mearsman to pass. Sanchez does move to his right. That's where the barriers are. The barriers do come out a little bit. Mearsman does hesitate, but for my money, a fair sprint and a worthy winner. Mearsman has enough room. He just doesn't have enough power.
Yes, I think if that had been Mark Cavendish, he would have come through on that inside position, but I don't think there's grounds for objection. That's our Michelob Ultra ride of the day. Well, we can now hear from Sanchez. He takes the questions in English, and Bob gives you the answers in English.
What a victory, fantastic finish for you.
First of all, I'd like to give a big thanks to my teammates. They escorted me perfectly towards the finish line.
Hubo un pinchazo la rueda trasera, no se pudo disputar, el equipo estuvo bien, ayer también.
They worked very well yesterday also. I did not get the win yesterday, so I'm very happy today.
What do you expect for the end of this Tour de Romandie? You can expect the yellow jersey, the camiseta amarillo?
We know that it'll be very difficult to get the leader's jersey because Wiggins is riding so well. I didn't ride great in the prologue because of the rain that fell and slowed me down. To win the overall of the Tour of Romandie will be very hard for me, but we'll give it a try anyways.
Gracias.
Okay.
Well done, Luis Leon, taking his questions in English, but giving his answers in his native tongue of Spanish. He's now only 1 second off the yellow jersey, Bob.
Trying to downplay his chances. I got to give him a big chance to win Tour of Romandie overall. Only 1 second behind. He's a great time trialist, and he's just 1 second behind our race leader, Bradley Wiggins.
And there's Wiggins pulling on the yellow jersey again. The only other leader of this race was his teammate, Geraint Thomas, who again trailed in with Mark Cavendish today. They do the work early on. Another trophy, same as yesterday, by the look of it. He'll have a whole set of those candelabra when he gets home. And Wiggins, I think, will be a little concerned by the progress of Luis Leon Sanchez, and it could well go down to a battle of the time trial at Romandie when we go there on Sunday. Let's have a look how it stands tonight, though. 1 second now to Sanchez. Michael Rogers goes down to 3rd place at 7. There's no change with the other time gaps. Mollema is still 4th, and Steph Clement is in 5th. Now, Andrew Talansky finished 4th today, but because of the acceleration of Sanchez, he's dropped 1 place to 6th. But he's in a battle with Wilco Kelderman for that white jersey, and they're now equal on time, 11 seconds off the pace. TJ Van Gordon is 17th. The defending champion, Cadel Evans, is there in 31st place. Now, this is the white jersey of Andrew Talansky. He won it last year, and he's very close to winning it again this time out.
4th on today's stage, showed some power in the sprint. He's a great climber and time trialist. I'll tell you what, he has a chance to trade that white jersey for the yellow jersey at the end of the week's racing. He could very well win the Tour of Romandie this year.
Well, he's riding with a great confidence. He's not afraid of this race at all after his successes in it last year, and I think he could well be a rider to be reckoned with, particularly tomorrow. And remember, the Epic Cycle Series presented by Michelob Ultra continues tomorrow. Note the special time, 10:30 Eastern Time. It's the Queen Stage as we head up into the high mountains, 3 first category climbs. Also remember, for a full schedule, log on to NBCSports.com and learn all about our cycle.